Good evening, everybody. Welcome back to TJ's Modeling Bench. Today is Wednesday, the 16th of April, and I'm going to jump in here with What Did You Buy Wednesday, a segment that was kind of started by Joe over at the Big Sky Model Workshop up in Montana, the Big Sky. And his premise is just this, whatever you've bought, whether it's a kit or a tool or some kind of new paint or anything related to, what we do in our hobby, share it with other folks. Maybe it's something they haven't seen, maybe it's something they haven't considered, whatever. But, so I got a few things that I've recently purchased that I want to share with you. And, let me move the camera around. We'll get started. All right. So one of the things I always have handy are sanding tools. These are some older things. These are some of the God Hand sanding sponges in various grits. 2,000, 8,000. I think this one's 10,000. So those are good for, if you got to sand your paint, sand your clear coats, polishing everything up. That gives you those really fine grits to do that kind of stuff, which I haven't really done much of. I got to learn how to do that a little better. Most of my builds, my car builds, don't usually end up in that showroom new category. A few of them have kind of been there, but I didn't take the time to do that. So I got to learn how to do that. Anyway, that's not what this is about, but that's what that's for. These are some old Squadron sanding sticks that I've got. I've got a few others. Then I've got this thing. I think I got this off of Amazon, and there's quite a range of grits here. 3,500 seems to be the highest we go. We start at 320, and I've used some of those, as you can see, but there's multiples of each grit, so I keep them in this storage box. But I just feel like I can never have enough sanding tools, so I picked up at my local hobby shop, which happens to be Hobbytown USA. I am not sponsored by them, not sponsored by anybody at the moment. I got these swizzle stick sanders. And if you're not familiar with these, there is in the center, well, no, this isn't the same ones. I was going to say in the center, there's like a metal sheet that runs through it. So this one is similar, but this one has metal in the middle so you can bend it. Now these are just foam, but they're small, they're narrow. You can get into tight spaces with these. So Stevens International, StevensHobby.com. So that's one, and then I also got another package of the God Hand sanding pads, but these are longer, and a few grits, not as many as those little square pads like this one. So it's the same brand, just a different style. So like I said, I don't feel like I can ever have too many different sanding tools. I also have some Rifler's files that I use every now and then, but not as much. All right, so sanding tools. Always have sanding tools. All right, next, tweezers. So these are tweezers that I've had and used quite a bit. This pair is a little bit older. The tips are pretty sharp. They're pretty fine. This particular set, the tip is very fine. I have stuck myself more times than I care to admit. But the one drawback to these, other than being sharp, is that because they're metal, you got to be careful where you're using them. You can scratch paint. If you got a nice finish and you don't want it scratched, you got to be really, really careful with these. So I decided I needed some plastic tweezers, and I got these. I haven't used them yet, but I'm pretty sure they're going to work just fine. And these are from a company called Modelcraft, also at my local hobby shop. Plastic tweezers. So yeah, I think these will be perfect in certain situations. And in fact, maybe even doing decals with these, rather than using the sharper metal ones. So tweezers, gotta have tweezers. But plastic ones were something I'd never had before, and I really felt like I needed those. All right, and then the other thing that I feel like I can never have too much of is masking tape. And I prefer the Tamiya brand. All right, this tape holder I bought a while back, and these are the rolls that I use most frequently. But I buy the refills for this. Now, what I had been doing before I got that, you know, when you buy a new roll, they usually come in this plastic case, and then it separates, and you can put, you know, a replacement roll in there. But, you know, I started to collect these, and when I got this, I don't need these anymore. So what I buy is just simply the replacement packages. It's just the roll of tape. So I've got some 3mm, which I actually don't have on this thing at the moment, 6mm, and then over here I think I've got maybe that's 18, 10 and 18. And I've got another one of these things that I haven't used. It's still in the box. But one thing I might still do is create some spacers, maybe some round cardboard discs that I can put in between them to help keep them separated a little bit. They're not bad the way it is now, but I tried to have one more of the, I guess that's 10mm on there, and it just got to be too cramped. And, you know, really I don't need the 3mm so much, because I also have this Infinity cutting mat that I use. And, you know, you've got various widths all the way up to 1mm here. And it works pretty well. I do like it. But, you know, sometimes you don't want to have to lay it out and cut it, and you need a piece that's a little thinner. So that's why I ended up with that. But yeah, for my money, it's always the Tamiya tape. I did buy, some years back, I bought a sleeve of a paper tape, a Japanese paper tape that's, you know, similar to this, but it didn't have the same adhesive quality as Tamiya tape. So I don't use it at all. It was just crap compared to this. So do yourself a favor, spend the extra money on good quality masking tape, and Tamiya is the one to get, hands down. I don't know of another brand that compares to the Tamiya brand of masking tape. And then lastly, I'll show you, I picked up a kit when I went to Anniston. Let me back this off a little bit, maybe. All right, when I went to Anniston, of course, there were plenty of vendors, and I had two kits in mind. The one I wasn't able to get because the vendor only took cash, and at the moment I did not have any cash on me. And by the time I got my girlfriend over there to bring me some cash, he had already packed up and left for the day. So I only ended up with this, the Revell Jaguar XKE in 1/24 scale. And my reasoning for getting this, I'm actually going to need to get another car to go with it, because in my mind, I've got the song by Jan and Dean just stuck in my head on replay, and that is Dead Man's Curve. And the Jaguar XKE was the vehicle that was racing the guy. I want to say, I think he's in a Mustang. I got to double check the lyrics, but I'm pretty sure he's in a Mustang. So my idea is to build each of them and then kind of do it as a diorama display. You know, we'll do Dead Man's Curve. But yeah. Now the other one that I didn't get, it was actually going to be the build that I was going to do for this year's Acme theme, which is drag racing and 100 years of Mopar. And this one was actually a Mopar funny car, so it would have fit into both categories. But like I said, he left before I could get some cash to buy it from him, and it was a pretty good price, so I really missed out on that one. But I'll find one. All right, so that's just a little short and sweet What Did You Buy Wednesday. And I'm I've got my Mirage done. I tried to do some weathering and it didn't really turn out the way I had envisioned it. I've done weathering in the past using some oil paints, and I did it as well this time. I got a little heavy-handed, and then I couldn't get it to wipe off quite as much as I wanted. So what I ended up with is kind of a faded paint. I used a white oil paint on that. It's kind of what I was after, but it's not exactly what I was after. But I'm calling it done. That's it. The underside, I've got some streaks and grime on there, engine oil leakage, hydraulic fluid leakage. I used the Strategic Air Command's metal gear on this. It's the first time I've used pot metal gear. It's okay. I had a hard time with adhesives. The epoxy that I had was old, so it never did set up like it should have. It stayed kind of gummy. So then I tried super glue, CA glue, and it seemed to work pretty good, but the metal is really soft and it tends to bend a little bit under its own weight. So I probably won't ever go that route again. It was something I'd never tried. I thought, let's give it a shot. This is a good project for it. Not to my liking in the end, but there it is. It's going to go on my shelves, my display. And I'm getting back to work on the USAC build, which is way overdue, I know. And I really haven't made any progress on it. I need to fill in the door sides, the opening in the body where the door comes together. I did already add, you can see here, a magnet on the door jamb, and then there's one on the back side of the interior of the door jamb. And they do catch. So if I shut the doors, they do not pop open. Those magnets are holding it pretty good. So that is my next priority right now, is to get that thing done before I start anything else. So I gotta get back on that. Anyway, y'all, hope you're having a great week. We're over the hump now. Everything's downhill to the weekend, and I hope your weather's good. I hope you're enjoying yourselves. I hope you got your taxes done, and I hope you got money back. Money for more models. Yes. Peace and love.